Elias Ward had been awake before dawn, as he usually was. The colony on Vorath 9 was quiet, the soft hum of the mining generators filling the air. He stepped outside his small habitat unit, his breath visible in the cold morning air. The twin suns of the planet were just rising, painting the rocky landscape in muted shades of orange and gray. Elias had spent years studying alien life in the Outer Rim, but Vorath 9 had always seemed unremarkable until the tremors began. It started subtly, a slight vibration underfoot, almost like the planet itself was sighing. Then the tremors grew stronger. The mining colony's alarms went off, shaking the settlers from their routines. Machines ground to a halt, and the tremors left deep cracks in the soil, splitting the pathways that linked the colony modules. Engineers and miners rushed to assess the damage, but no explanation seemed to satisfy everyone. The tremors came in rhythmic patterns, almost as if they had a purpose. Elias, however, was drawn to a section of the plateau that had been untouched for decades. Reports had noted occasional seismic spikes there, but no one had ever explored the area. He trudged carefully toward the origin of the vibrations. The ground beneath him shook violently, and he barely caught himself from falling. A plume of dust rose ahead, and a faint shadow appeared in the morning haze. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, but then he saw it an enormous figure, moving with grace, despite its size. It was a woman, but not like any human woman he had ever seen. She was massive, easily 40 feet tall, her body covered in a chitinous armor that glimmered in the morning sun. Her limbs were long and powerful, yet she moved with careful deliberation. Her eyes were a deep violet, intelligent and somber. She looked down at Elias and the colony, her expression unreadable. The colony's alarms escalated as she approached. People ran in fear, unsure whether this giant creature was a threat or some lost alien entity. Elias, heart racing, stepped forward. He had trained for encounters with alien life before, but nothing could have prepared him for this. The figure stopped a short distance away, lowering her massive head to meet his gaze. Then she spoke. "I need a husband, and you require strong offspring," she said, her voice deep and resonant, vibrating through the air in a way that made the ground tremble. Silence followed. The words were unexpected, incomprehensible in context. Elias took a cautious step closer. Who are you?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "I am Varasha," she replied, "the last of the Thrakuun." Elias's mind raced. The Thrakuun were a species long believed extinct. Their history was recorded in fragmented archives and obscure texts, tales of a civilization that had once spread across hundreds of star systems before an engineered plague wiped them out. Now, standing before him, was a living survivor. "Why are you here?" he asked. "Why now?" Varasha's eyes softened. "My people are gone, destroyed by disease and war. I carry their last hope, their genetic legacy. I need a partner to preserve it. You humans, you are strong, adaptable. You may be our chance to continue." The colony's leadership gathered quickly behind him, weapons drawn, eyes wide with fear. Most of them saw only a massive, unknown alien. Elias knew better. He could feel the intelligence behind her eyes, the quiet desperation. "I am not here to harm you," Varasha continued. "I seek alliance, survival, and continuity. You will judge me by your fears, but I ask only for understanding." Elias gestured to the colony leaders. "She speaks our language. She is not attacking. Give me a moment." Reluctantly, the colonists lowered their weapons. Elias approached Varasha again, careful to remain non-threatening. She lowered her massive hand, palm open, and he placed his hand against hers. The warmth and slight pulse of life beneath her chitin surprised him. "You are real," he whispered. "I am," Varasha said. And time is short. The plague that destroyed my people is not the only danger. Other threats linger in the darkness of space. I have come here because I sensed hope. You humans may survive what I could not. Elias considered her words. He had spent years studying alien biology and history, but nothing in his experience could have prepared him for the depth of what she was proposing. This was not just contact with another species, it was a responsibility that could shape the future of two civilizations. The Colony Council demanded answers. How do we know you aren't a threat? One of the leaders shouted. Varasha's voice rumbled across the rocky terrain. Look at my body. Look at my strength. I could crush you if I wished. But I do not. My purpose is not conquest. It is preservation. You may help me, or you may hinder yourselves by ignoring what you do not understand. Elias stepped forward once more. We must listen. She carries knowledge. Knowledge of her people, their technology, and their strategies. If she survived alone, she may have insight that can save lives. Reluctantly, the council agreed to a temporary truce. Varasha was guided to a large hangar, where engineers could construct a secure area suitable for her size. She moved carefully, mindful not to crush anything beneath her massive frame. Her every motion seemed deliberate, measured, as though she carried centuries of history in her bones. During the next few days, Elias spent hours talking to Varasha, learning about her people. The Thrakun were advanced beyond anything humans had ever imagined, a civilization that combined organic technology with intricate societal structures. They had no written language in the traditional sense. Instead, memories and knowledge were encoded biologically, passed from generation to generation. Varasha was the last carrier of these memories, a living archive. Elias was fascinated. Why come here? To a mining colony, he asked. The vibrations, Varasha replied. I sensed life. The humans here are resilient. Your species is stubborn and adaptable. I have studied you for decades from afar. You may provide what my people cannot. Together, we can preserve what has been lost. The colonists were still wary. Some protested, fearing that Varasha's presence would attract danger. Others were intrigued, especially the younger members who dreamed of the stars. Elias worked tirelessly to mediate between them, translating Varasha's intentions and emphasizing her willingness to cooperate. One night, while Elias sat with Varasha in the secure hangar, she asked him something unexpected. Do you fear me? Elias thought for a moment. I do, in a way. But not because of your size or your power. I fear the consequences of what may happen if we fail to understand each other. Varasha nodded slowly. Fear is natural. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite it. You have courage, Elias Ward. It is why I chose to speak to you first. Over the next week, Elias helped Varasha acclimate to the colony. Her massive size made daily life difficult, but she adapted quickly. She was careful not to crush structures, careful not to frighten the colonists unnecessarily. Her intelligence and curiosity fascinated everyone. And slowly, fear gave way to cautious admiration. Then came the first sign of real danger. Deep space sensors detected movement beyond the planetary system. Unknown vessels, cloaked in stealth, were approaching. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. He had read stories of the Scourge, the ancient enemies of the Thrakun, but he had never believed them real. Varasha confirmed his fears. They survived, she said quietly. They are searching for me. If they reach this colony, they will not stop until all is destroyed. Panic erupted among the colonists. Weapons were readied. Defensive protocols activated. Elias stayed calm, standing beside Varasha. She looked at him, her eyes reflecting both sorrow and determination. They will come, she said. But you humans have a spark I have not seen in generations. We may survive this together. I will teach you what my people knew. You will fight not as individuals, but as one united force." The days that followed were tense. Varasha instructed the engineers on ways to fortify the colony using her knowledge of Thrakun technology. She shared strategies for defense, methods of sensing energy and movement, and techniques for adapting human machinery to her guidance. Elias marveled at how quickly the humans adapted to her teachings. By the time the first Scourge scouts arrived, the colony was ready in ways it never could have imagined without her. Humans had become more than miners. They were soldiers, strategists, and allies of an ancient civilization. Elias watched as Varasha stood at the forefront, massive and unyielding, her presence alone, inspiring courage in those around her. Late at night, after another day of preparation, Elias sat beside her once more. "I don't know if we're ready," he admitted. "You are more ready than you realize," Varasha replied. "Strength is not measured by size alone, nor by weapons alone. It is measured by will, by the heart of those who stand together. You have that. When we clicked to say, they were more ready than you realize, we clicked to sense that are one." Elias felt a mixture of awe and fear. The coming battle was uncertain, but for the first time in years, he felt hope. Hope that humanity could rise to meet a challenge far beyond anything it had faced. Hope that, with Varasha's guidance, they could survive, and perhaps even thrive. The ground trembled again. Faintly at first, a warning of the storm to come. Elias looked out toward the horizon, seeing the twin suns rise over the jagged mountains. He knew their lives were about to change forever. And standing beside him, towering and magnificent, Varasha was ready to face it all. Time was short, danger was near. But the seeds of an unlikely alliance had been sown. Humanity had a chance to prove itself, to stand strong in the shadow of a being larger than life and wiser than centuries. Elias knew the real journey was just beginning, and the first steps would determine not only the fate of the colony, but perhaps the future of two species intertwined by destiny. The colony on Vorath 9 had changed. The arrival of Varasha, the giant Thrakun widow, had turned life upside down. Miners now walked past fortified structures she had helped design. Engineers tinkered with machinery modified to her specifications, and soldiers trained under her watchful gaze. Even at her immense size, Varasha moved among them with care, careful not to frighten the humans who now looked up to her as a symbol of survival. Elias Ward stood at the command center, a high-tech hub built from the remnants of mining equipment. He studied the sensor data projected in front of him. The Scourge vessels had approached closer. They were silent, cloaked in a manner humans could not penetrate, and their numbers were growing. Every decision now had the weight of life and death. Not just for the colony, but potentially for all human settlements in the sector. Varasha entered, her footsteps making the floor tremble. She bent low so her violet eyes met Elias's. "They will not attack immediately," she said. "They are cautious. They sense my presence, and they know I am dangerous. But their patience is endless. When they strike, they will strike without mercy." Elias nodded. "How do we prepare? Our weapons are primitive compared to what you described." "You will adapt," she replied. "I will guide you. Humans have potential that even my species lacked in some areas. You are clever, unpredictable, capable of change. That is why I chose this colony. You can survive what is coming if you learn quickly." Over the next days, Varasha worked closely with the colony's engineers and militia. She instructed them in ways to enhance energy shields, recalibrate mining lasers into defensive weapons, and create traps that could disable the Scourge's advanced ships. She explained tactics for coordinated group maneuvers, teaching humans to fight as a unit rather than individually. Elias spent every waking moment with her, recording her knowledge, learning from her memory-encoded experiences. She shared stories of her people's rise and fall, their triumphs and mistakes. Humans had always looked at aliens as objects of curiosity, sometimes fear, but Varasha treated them as equals, capable of understanding and action. "You humans have a spark," she said one evening, watching a squad of young soldiers practice maneuvers she had designed. "It is not your technology, not your weapons. It is your courage and adaptability. Those traits may save you more than anything I can provide." Elias realized that she was teaching more than combat. She was teaching humans to think strategically, to anticipate the enemy, and to trust one another. Each lesson came with a story, often painful, of her people's history. Humans began to see the value not just of her guidance, but of her presence as a living reminder of resilience. Yet not everyone in the colony trusted her. Some members of the council whispered behind closed doors, worried that having Varasha so close might attract the scourge faster. Others feared that interacting with her could lead to unpredictable consequences. Rumors spread that the giant alien might demand more than survival, that she might manipulate humans for her own ends. Elias confronted one of the council members, a stern woman named Kiera. "We cannot treat her as a threat when she is offering knowledge that can save lives," he said. Kiera shook her head. "And what if we fail? What if she brings destruction instead of salvation? She is too powerful. No one can control her. Then we fail together." Elias replied calmly. "But at least we try. Fear will not save us. Action will." Meanwhile, the colony continued to adapt. Varasha taught humans to integrate organic technology into their machines, creating energy shields that could self-repair and drones that moved in patterns inspired by her species' instincts. The mining lasers, once used only for excavation, were modified to fire concentrated bursts, capable of penetrating enemy armor. Children of the colony watched in awe as Varasha demonstrated her abilities. She could manipulate gravity to move heavy objects effortlessly. Her voice could emit sonic vibrations to break rocks, and her knowledge of anatomy allowed her to predict the movement of living creatures with uncanny accuracy. Some of the children mimicked her gestures, pretending to be giants themselves. Others, inspired by her stories, dreamed of one day exploring the stars alongside her. One evening, as Elias walked with Varasha near the edge of the colony, he asked, "Do you fear them? The scourge?" Varasha's eyes reflected both sorrow and resolve. "I have faced them before. They destroyed my world, killed my people. Fear is familiar, but it is useless without action. You humans are different. You face fear daily, yet you move forward. That is strength I admire." Elias paused. "Do you trust me?" She looked down at him, her massive form silhouetted against the twin suns setting on the horizon. "I do. You understand more than most humans. You see beyond the size, beyond the fear. You see potential. That is why I speak to you first." Days turned into nights, and the Scourge scouts drew closer. They were cautious, sending small, cloaked ships to monitor the colony from a distance. The humans observed them through enhanced sensors, noting the way they moved in formation, communicating silently through advanced technology that humans could barely comprehend. Varasha gathered the colony's defenders and gave them their first practical drill. She positioned them in defensive formations, teaching them how to anticipate enemy maneuvers. They practiced energy shield rotations, coordinated strikes with adapted mining lasers, and evasive maneuvers to protect key structures. Elias watched the humans struggle at first, many failing to keep pace with her precise instructions. But gradually, their movements became more synchronized. Confidence replaced hesitation. They began to see themselves as capable defenders, not just miners and engineers. Then came the first real test. One of the cloaked Scourge ships moved too close to the colony's perimeter. Sensors detected it, and alarms blared. Varasha instructed a group of soldiers to fire a trap that she had designed, a net of energy that could disable the enemy vessel without destroying it. The trap worked perfectly. The Scourge ship was caught in the energy net. immobilized, but unharmed. The humans cheered. And even the most skeptical council members had to admit that Varasha's methods were effective. "That was impressive," Elias said, turning to Varasha. She nodded. "You see what is possible when fear does not control action. You humans have the courage to succeed." Despite the victory, Elias knew the real battle was approaching. The Scourge would not be satisfied with one captured ship. Their fleet would arrive, and the colony would face a threat unlike anything it had ever known. Late at night, Elias and Varasha spoke again, away from the eyes of the colony. "How many of them are there?" he asked quietly. "More than you can imagine," she replied. "They travel in waves, relentless and unyielding, but they underestimate humans. That will be their mistake." Elias felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. "If we fail, we will not fail," Varasha interrupted gently. "Failure is an option only if you allow it. You have learned quickly. You have adapted. You are ready in ways even I did not expect." The next morning, scouts reported a larger presence. The Scourge fleet was moving toward the colony, cloaked but detectable through advanced scanning techniques Varasha had helped implement. The humans began final preparations, fortifying positions, checking weapons, and reviewing battle plans. Varasha moved among them, offering guidance, reassurance, and strategy. She demonstrated techniques for moving in unison, using combined human ingenuity and Thrakuan tactics. Elias observed soldiers who had once been uncertain and fearful, now moving with precision and confidence. One soldier, a young woman named Mara, approached Varasha. "I don't know if I can do this," she admitted. Varasha knelt slightly to meet her gaze. "You can. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action, despite it. You have that courage already. Believe in yourself, and you will see strength you did not know you possessed." As the sun rose over the jagged peaks, the Scourge fleet emerged from the darkness, cloaked ships revealing themselves in formation. Elias stood at the command center, watching the display. The enemy was vast, far larger than the colony's forces. Panic could have spread, but it did not. Humans were ready. They had trained, learned, and adapted. Varasha moved to the forefront, towering above the human defenders. Her presence alone inspired courage. "Remember," she said, her voice resonating across the colony. "Strength is measured not by size alone, but by the heart and will of those who stand together." Elias felt a surge of hope. The coming battle would be difficult, and the outcome uncertain, but he also knew something profound. Humans had grown beyond their limitations. They had learned from an alien civilization, not as subordinates, but as equals. They had adapted, and in that adaptation lay their greatest strength. The first clash was imminent. The Scourge fleet advanced, energy weapons charging, but the humans and their giant ally were prepared. Every trap, every strategy, every lesson Varasha had taught was ready to be deployed. Elias felt a thrill of anticipation, mixed with fear. "Stand firm," Varasha said. "Together, we are more than they expect. Remember your courage, and act with purpose." Elias nodded, gripping the controls before him. The colony, once a simple mining outpost, had become a fortress of hope, resilience, and human ingenuity. The real test was about to begin, and humanity's potential would be measured not by fear, but by action. As the Scourge fleet drew closer, Elias looked at Varasha. She was not just a giant alien widow seeking survival, she was a teacher, a guide, and a symbol of what humanity could become when it faced the impossible with courage. The battle was coming. And when it began, the humans of Vorath 9 would show that even in the shadow of a massive, ancient power, they could rise. They could survive. They could thrive. The Scourge fleet loomed on the horizon, dark and unyielding, their ships glinting in the twin suns of Vorath 9. The colony was silent, every human stationed at their assigned positions, every weapon ready. The adaptations Varasha had taught them gleamed under the morning light. Fortified energy shields, laser turrets converted from mining equipment, and traps designed to disable the Scourge ships. Even the smallest details mattered, and the humans had learned quickly. Elias Ward stood beside Varasha, feeling the immense presence of the giant Thrakun widow. Her violet eyes scanned the incoming fleet, calm yet intense. "They are more than scouts this time," she said, her deep voice resonating through the command center. "They expect resistance, but they do not expect unity. That will be their mistake." The first Scourge ships fired, energy pulses streaking toward the colony, alarms blared, and lights flickered across the settlement. Human defenders activated their shields and returned fire, targeting the attacking vessels with precision guided by Varasha's teachings. The energy nets and modified mining lasers struck first, immobilizing the lead ships. Explosions erupted, throwing the Scourge into confusion. Varasha moved to the front lines, her massive form a living barricade. She absorbed the energy pulses with her chitinous armor, redirecting shockwaves and protecting the humans behind her. Her voice rose, instructing soldiers on when to move, when to fire, and how to maintain formation. The humans responded with surprising efficiency, executing maneuvers they had practiced tirelessly under her guidance. Elias monitored the battlefield from the command center, coordinating with each unit. He could see the fear in some soldiers' eyes, but it was tempered with determination. They had learned from Varasha not to rely solely on their weapons, but on their intelligence, coordination, and courage. The Scourge adjusted their tactics, sending smaller ships to flank the colony's defenses. The humans reacted instinctively, blocking the attacks with energy shields, while targeting weak points in the enemy formation. Varasha anticipated the movements, calling out adjustments with calm authority. Her experience and centuries of knowledge gave the humans an advantage they could not have achieved alone. One Scourge ship broke through a defensive line, heading toward the colony's main power generator. A group of soldiers attempted to intercept it, but were outmatched. Varasha intervened, her massive hands scooping the ship from the ground and flinging it into the energy net trap. The humans cheered, their morale soaring. Elias realized that this battle was not just about survival. It was about proving humanity's potential. The colonists had transformed from miners into warriors, thinkers, and strategists. They were not just defending themselves, they were learning, adapting, and growing under pressure. In the chaos of battle, Elias noticed a small group of young defenders trapped under debris from a damaged turret. Without hesitation, he called for Varasha. She moved swiftly, her massive frame bending carefully to avoid crushing the structures around her. She lifted the debris with ease, freeing the humans trapped beneath. The rescued soldiers looked up at her in awe and gratitude, their fear replaced with trust. As the battle continued, the Scourge sent their flagship closer, attempting to assert dominance. Elias studied its patterns, using Varasha's strategies to anticipate its movements. He directed concentrated fire from energy nets and laser arrays, coordinating the colony's defenses with precision. The flagship faltered, its energy shield compromised, and for the first time, the Scourge faced significant losses. Varasha turned to Elias, her eyes reflecting both concern and determination. "This is only the beginning. They will regroup, but we have shown them that humans are not to be underestimated. We must press forward, not falter." The humans responded with renewed vigor, their attacks becoming more coordinated, their defenses more impenetrable. They moved as a single entity, combining human ingenuity with Varasha's ancient tactics. Each victory, no matter how small, fueled their confidence. During a brief lull in the battle, Varasha addressed the humans. "You have proven yourselves. You are not weak, nor are you unprepared. Courage, intelligence, and unity are your greatest weapons. Use them wisely. Elias felt a surge of pride. The humans were standing tall in the shadow of an ancient and powerful being. They had risen to the challenge. Not because of her size or strength alone, but because they had embraced the lessons she taught them. The Scourge launched a concentrated strike, aiming directly at the colony's central command hub. Explosions rocked the ground, and some sections of the colony were damaged. Human defenders scrambled. But Varasha intervened, her massive form shielding key areas. She redirected energy blasts with precise movements, protecting both equipment and personnel. Elias coordinated counterattacks, directing squads to exploit weaknesses in the Scourge formation. Using Varasha's guidance, the humans created traps and ambushes, turning the enemy's strength against them. Slowly, the tide of battle began to shift. One of the smaller Scourge vessels attempted a surprise attack from above. Elias spotted it and called out to a squad of human pilots. Using modified transport craft equipped with energy nets, they intercepted the vessel, ensnaring it before it could reach the colony. The successful maneuver highlighted how much humans had learned in a short time. Varasha's voice rang out over the battlefield. Do not let fear control you. Strike with precision, move as one, protect each other. Her words were not commands but guidance, instilling confidence and clarity. As the sun climbed higher, the Scourge flagship faltered under continuous attacks. Its energy shield weakened, and the humans seized the opportunity. Coordinated strikes from multiple angles, combining energy nets, laser turrets, and tactical maneuvers, forced the ship into retreat. The Scourge fleet, seeing their flagship compromised, began a gradual withdrawal. Elias allowed himself a moment to breathe. The humans had survived, and the Scourge had been driven off, at least temporarily. The colony was battered, but it remained standing. Humans had proven their resilience, their ability to adapt and fight alongside a being of incredible power. Varasha, though weary, stood tall among them. She had protected, guided, and taught them, but she also recognized their individual strengths. You have done well, she said, her voice carrying over the settlement. Your courage has surpassed my expectations. Humanity has the potential to endure challenges far greater than this. Elias approached her, gratitude and respect evident in his expression. We couldn't have done it without you. She shook her massive head. No, you did this. I merely guided you. You are capable of greatness, Elias. Your people are capable of greatness. Remember this lesson. Strength is not measured by size alone, nor by weapons alone. It is measured by will, by unity, and by courage. In the aftermath, humans worked tirelessly to repair the colony. They salvaged damaged equipment, reinforced fortifications, and restored energy systems. The experience had changed them. Fear had been replaced by confidence, hesitation by action. They had stood beside a being older and wiser than any of them, and they had learned that they could rise to the challenge. Varasha spent time with Elias, discussing the next steps. The Scourge were not gone entirely, but they had been shown that humans were formidable allies. Elias realized that this partnership was not just about survival, it was about creating a future where both species could thrive. You have a choice, Varasha told him one evening. You may continue as before, focusing only on your colony, or you may embrace the future, work with me, and help preserve what has been lost. Humanity has the potential to shape destiny, not just react to it. Elias considered her words. He thought about the courage he had witnessed, the unity of the colonists, and the lessons learned from an ancient, intelligent being. He understood that survival was not enough. Growth, learning, and cooperation were equally important. We will work together, he said finally. We will protect our people and learn from you, and we will ensure that your legacy and ours endures. Varasha nodded, a rare smile crossing her massive features. Then we begin a new chapter. One where humans and Thrakuan knowledge combine. Together, we are stronger than either species alone. In the weeks that followed, the colony became a center of innovation and cooperation. Humans and Varasha worked side by side, sharing knowledge, culture, and strategies. Young settlers learned from her teachings, inspired to explore the stars and expand the colony's influence. The Scourge fleet remained a distant threat, but the humans no longer feared them. They had grown, adapted, and demonstrated that even against a superior enemy, intelligence, courage, and unity could turn the tide. Elias often reflected on the past weeks. The giant alien widow, who had arrived unexpectedly, was now a symbol of hope and learning. Humanity had risen to the challenge, proving that even a small mining colony on a remote planet could stand tall in the face of cosmic threats. Varasha stood at the edge of the colony one evening, watching the twin suns set over the rocky landscape. Elias joined her, the wind rustling around them. "You have found a home here," he said quietly. She nodded. "And so have you. Together, we will ensure that what has been lost is never forgotten. Your species has the courage to endure, to grow, and to shape the future. Never forget that." The colony, once fragile and isolated, now stood as a beacon of resilience. Humans had faced fear, uncertainty, and an enemy older than their history. They had learned, adapted, and survived. And with Varasha by their side, they had begun to understand the true meaning of strength, not measured by size or weapons alone, but by courage, unity, and the will to act. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the settlement. Elias knew that challenges would come again, that the Scourge would not disappear entirely. But he also knew something more important. Humanity had proven it could rise to any challenge. And with allies like Varasha, there was no limit to what they could achieve. In that quiet moment, standing beside a giant alien whose past carried the weight of an entire lost civilization, Elias felt hope. A hope not born from luck or chance, but from the courage, intelligence, and unity of humanity itself. And in that hope, a new chapter began. One where humans and the Thrakuan legacy would shape the future of the stars together.